Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling a really fascinating topic, pairing wine with Asian cuisine.
Yeah, it's a delicious challenge, isn't it?
It really is. And you, our listeners, sent in some great sources looking at the sheer diversity of Asian flavors and the principles of wine pairing.
hmm
So our mission today is basically to distill the key insights, give you a solid understanding without, getting lost in too many details.
Right, because Asian cuisine isn't just one thing, it's huge.
Exactly.
Japanese food is so different from Thai, which is totally different from India. You get the idea. So the thought that one single wine works for everything,
Yeah.
it's just not realistic.
Not at all. This is about appreciating the nuances.
Yeah, finding those common threads and pairings that actually work.
Right. So our sources point to three core ideas for making these pairings successful. First, balance. You don't want the food or the wine to totally dominate.
Makes sense.
Then complementation, where the wine kind of highlights certain flavors in the food. And finally, contrast, where the wine offers something different, creating, a more interesting dynamic.
Okay, so balance, complement, contrast. Got it. And when we look at the wine itself, we're thinking about things like acidity
Yeah, that crisp, refreshing quality. And sweetness, of course.
and tannins, that sort of drying feeling you get sometimes.
Exactly. And just the overall intensity of the wine's flavor.
Right. And then on the food side, especially with Asian cuisines, we've got that amazing mix of the five basic tastes: sweet, salty, sour, bitter, and umami.
Umami. That's such a big one here.
It really is that savory depth you get from soy sauce, miso, fermented
Like
things.
the aromatics, too. Ginger, garlic, chili, lemongrass, cilantro. I mean, the list goes on.
Absolutely. Those layers of flavor are crucial. The wine needs to either mesh with them or cut through them effectively.
And cooking methods matter, too, right? Like fried versus steamed.
Definitely. Delicate sashimi needs a different wine partner than, say, crispy tempura or rich curry. Frying, boiling, grilling, raw, it all changes the game.
Okay, so before we get into specific dishes, maybe a quick overview of the cuisines we'll touch on.
Good idea. We'll be looking mainly at Japanese, Chinese, Thai, Korean, Vietnamese, and Indian, each with its own distinct personality.
Great. So where do we start this flavor journey?
Let's begin in Japan,
Mm.
often known for elegance, freshness, and that key umami element. Think sushi and sashimi first.
Okay, the raw fish, the vinegared rice,
Okay.
very delicate.
Exactly. So the wines need to match that. Sources suggest things with bright acidity. A Barino is a good one. Often has a nice little salty note too.
Mm-hmm. Complements the seafood.
Or Vinho Verde light, zesty, sometimes a little bubbly.
Oh, I like that idea.
Dry Riesling also works well. Good acidity, nice minerality.
So the acidity is key here, like a squeeze of lemon.
Pretty much, it brightens everything up.
Yeah.
And you want lighter-bodied wines so they don't crush the delicate fish flavors. Even a less intense Sauvignon Blanc, more citrus, less grassy, can fit.
And bubbles.
Oh yeah. Brut or Brut sparkling wines are fantastic. The bubbles cleanse the palate, especially with richer fish.
Nice. Okay, so from delicate raw fish to crispy fried stuff, tempura.
Right. With tempura, you still want that cleansing effect, but now you've got the richness from the batter.
So the sparklers again.
Definitely. Brut. Extra brut, they cut right through that oiliness. Excellent choice.
Okay. And the high acid whites too?
Yep. Vinho Verde, Albarino are still great. Sauvignon Blanc, dry Riesling. That acidity is really the hero for a lot of Japanese food.
It seems like it. Okay, what about dishes with more sweetness and savory depth? Like teriyaki or yakitori. That glaze changes things.
It does. And here's where it gets pretty interesting. The sources suggest trying wines with a bit of sweetness themselves.
Like a Riesling.
Exactly, a Riesling Cabinet or Spätlese. Just a touch of sweetness mirrors the glaze, but the acidity keeps it fresh, not heavy.
I see.
Gewürztraminer can also be amazing here. It's aromatic, often has a little sweetness, and can handle those richer notes.
What about rosé or light reds?
Surprisingly, yes. Dry rosés with good fruit and acidity, or even a light Pinot Noir, also fruit and acid-driven, can work really well.
Huh, interesting. Okay, moving on to comfort food. Ramen and soups. Those broths can be all over the place, right? Light to super rich.
Totally. So the key is matching the wine's weight to the broth's weight.
So, richer broth, maybe a fuller wine?
Yeah, maybe a fuller-bodied white like a Chardonnay or Godello, or even a light fruity red like Pinot Noir, especially if it's a meat-based ramen. The earthiness can be nice.
So it's about matching intensity. Got it. And what about those really punchy Japanese flavors, wasabi and ginger? They can be strong.
They definitely can.
That's
That pungency needs a wine that can stand up to it, but won't, like, amplify the heat badly.
Okay.
So white wines with some residual sugar are often recommended. Again, Riesling, Spätlese, or even Ostlese can help tame that spice.
That sweetness balancing the heat.
Exactly. Gewürztraminer aromatics can also hold their own. And our friends, Sparkling Brut, Extra Brut, and Dry Rosé are often versatile enough too.
What's the big don't here?
Definitely avoid high alcohol, tannic reds. The alcohol makes the wasabi feel hotter, and the tannins can just taste weird with the delicate flavors.
Good tip. Okay, let's travel over to China now. Huge diversity there too. Where do we begin? Dim sum.
Dim sum and dumplings. Perfect start. So many different fillings, textures. You need versatile wines.
Bubbles again?
You guessed it. Brut or Extra Brut sparkling wines are great palate cleansers, especially for richer pork or fried dumplings. They just cut through everything.
They really are all-rounders.
For the more delicate steamed ones, though, Vinho Verde works well. Light, refreshing.
Okay.
Albarino or Sauvignon Blanc, too, for their acidity, especially with, like, shrimp or veggie fillings.
Any reds?
A light Pinot Noir can be surprisingly good, particularly with those pork dumplings. The fruitiness works.
Cool. Now, a classic sweet and sour dishes. Balancing that requires some thought, wine-wise.
It really does. And just like with teriyaki, those off-dry whites are often the answer. Riesling Cabinet Spätlese, Gewürztraminer.
The sweetness in the wine matches the sauce.
Exactly. And the acidity cuts through both the sweet and the sour. It creates harmony. Dry rosé works too. Good fruits, good acidity.
Makes sense. What about the spicier side of Chinese food? Need something to handle the heat.
Yeah, and again, that little bit of sweetness in Riesling or Gewürztraminer can be really soothing. It dials down the perception of heat.
Okay.
Brut Extras, Brut Sparkling, and Dry Rosé are also good refreshers here.
Any other whites?
Maybe something aromatic with good acidity like Torrontés. That could be interesting.
What's the warning here? Same as with wasabi.
Pretty much. But careful with high alcohol tannic reds. They could just make the spice feel more aggressive.
Got it. Okay, let's talk richness. Peking duck dishes with those deep, complex sauces.
Yeah. For those, you need a wine with a bit more substance. Soft tannin reds can work. Think Pinot Noir, Merlot, maybe a lighter Garnacha.
So reds are okay if they're not too tannic.
Exactly. Or structured whites, maybe with a little oak like a balanced Chardonnay or Viognier. Their texture can complement the richness.
And if there's hoisin sauce involved.
That often has a sweetness, so leaning back towards those slightly sweet Rieslings or Gewürztraminers can be a good move. Acts like a bridge.
But still avoid the really heavy tannic reds.
Generally, yeah. They can just clash.
Okay. Last stop in China. Wok and stir fries. Fast cooking, fresh flavors.
Right. Quick cooking preserves freshness. So for veggie or seafood stir fries, you want aromatic whites with good acidity. Sauvignon Blanc, Vinho Verde, Albarino, refreshing.
And if there's meat, like chicken or pork.
Lighter stir fries like that can work well with light fruity reds. Pinot Noir again, or Gamay. Delicate tannins, bright fruit.
So the key is matching the main ingredient and the seasoning level.
Absolutely. Pay attention to spice, herbs, they all influence the best choice.
We've covered a lot. Okay, let's head to Thailand. Vibrant, aromatic, those curries.
Thai curries are amazing. Spicy, creamy from coconut milk, super complex spices.
Well, what works with all that?
Aromatic whites with that touch of residual sugar Riesling, Gewürztraminer, are strong contenders again. Helps manage the heat.
Seems like a pattern with spice. What about drier whites?
Yeah, depending on the curry, medium-bodied dry whites like Viognier or maybe a Sancerre could work. Viogniers' aromatics or Sancerre's crispness can cut through the richness in different ways.
Interesting. Okay, pad thai. Love pad thai. Sweet, salty, sour, sometimes spicy.
It's got everything. You need wines with real zingy acidity and fruit. Sauvignon Blanc, Vinho Verde are great. Dry rosé works well too, balancing fruit and acid.
What about the really fiery soups like tom yum? Intense.
Definitely intense. Lots of acidity and spice. So you want high acid whites to match. Sauvignon Blanc, Vinho Verde, Albarino. They can stand up to it and refresh your palate.
Makes sense. And for the lighter Thai seafood dishes, very fresh, delicate.
Yeah, for those you don't want to overpower them. Think light, crisp whites, Pinot Grigio, Vermentino, maybe something from the Loire Valley. Subtle, refreshing.
And those amazing Thai salads, that perfect balance of sweet, salty, sour, spicy.
Right. For those leaning towards aromatic whites with just a hint of sweetness Riesling, Gewürztraminer can be beautiful, mirrors the sweet, spicy notes while the acid cuts through.
Wow, okay. We've hit the big ones. Should we quickly touch on a few others? Korea, kimchi, bulgogi.
Yeah, definitely. Korean food has unique flavors. For kimchi fermented, spicy, A dry Riesling or Brut sparkling works wonders. Acidity and bubbles are your friends.
And for bulgogi, that sweet, savory beef.
A light Pinot Noir can be surprisingly good there.
Cool. What about Vietnamese? Pho, fresh spring rolls, banh mi, often lighter, lots of herbs.
Exactly. Think light, aromatic whites for those. Sauvignon Blanc, Vinho Verde, Pinot Grigio. Their acidity and subtle notes complement the freshness without overwhelming it.
And India. So diverse, often spicy curries, tandoori.
Hugely diverse. Aromatic whites like Riesling, Gewürztraminer, maybe Torrontés often pair well with many Indian dishes, especially those with complex spices or a touch of sweetness. But again, spice level is key, often pushing you towards wines with a bit of sweetness.
So listening to all this, it really sounds like there are a few wines that pop up again and again as being pretty versatile for Asian food.
Absolutely. There are definitely some go-to styles.
Like those aromatic whites.
Yeah, Riesling, Gewürztraminer, Torrontés. Their aromatics just sing with the herbs and spices, and they handle sweet and sour elements well. And Riesling's ability to manage spice with its sweetness levels is like its superpower here.
And the high acid whites we kept mentioning.
Definitely. Sauvignon Blanc, Vinho Verde, Albariño, they're just so refreshing. They cut through richness, balance, acidity. Really useful.
Dry rosé, too, seemed more adaptable than I might have thought.
It really is. That balance of acidity and fruit makes it great for spicy stuff, sweet and sour.
Yeah.
Surprisingly flexible.
And bubbles. Can't forget the bubbles.
Never. Sparkling wines, especially Brut and Extra Brut, are amazing. Those cleansing bubbles are perfect for anything fried or rich.
And if you really want a red,
Stick to the lighter end. Pinot Noir, Gamay, delicate tannins, good food. They can work with less intense meat dishes without dominating.
okay, so we know what often works. Equally important, what generally doesn't work. What should we maybe avoid?
Well, the big one is usually those full-bodied, really tannic red wines.
Mm-hmm.
Cabernet Sauvignon, Malbec, Syrah.
What?
The tannins often just clash badly with spice. They can make spicy food feel hotter, and they can kind of flatten out the other flavors. Just not usually a happy marriage.
Makes sense. Anything on the white side to be wary of?
Yeah, sometimes really heavily oaked white rinds can be tricky. Like a big oaky Chardonnay with lots of vanilla and butter notes.
Right.
Those oak flavors can fight with the fresh, vibrant aromatics common in Asian food. They can just feel heavy or out of place.
Okay. And sweet wines, generally for dessert only.
Generally, yeah. With main courses, overly sweet wines can clash with savory flavors, unless it's a very specific intentional pairing, usually best saved for after the meal.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, any essential tips for people wanting to harmonize wine and Asian food?
I think the biggest one is match intensity. Delicate food, delicate wine. Rich food, richer wine. Makes sense, right?
Totally.
Also, really think about the spice level. Do you need something refreshing with high acidity, or maybe something with a touch of sweetness to calm the heat?
Acidity seems key.
It really is.
Yeah.
Balancing the wine's acidity with the dish's acidity like lime juice or vinegar is super important. And don't be afraid of using a wine's sweetness to complement sweet and sour or tame spice like we talked about.
But maybe the most crucial advice.
Experiment. Honestly, these are guidelines, not hard rules. The best pairing is the one you enjoy. Try things out. See what you like.
That's great advice. This has been, honestly, a really delicious deep dive. So, to sum up, pairing wine with Asian food is less about rigid rules and more about discovery and pleasure.
Exactly. Understand the flavors and textures of the specific cuisine you're eating.
And then think about how different wines might enhance, complement, or contrast with those flavors. It can lead to some really exciting combinations.
Absolutely. And the possibilities are just endless, really. Both Asian cuisines and the world of wine are so vast.
Which leads us to our final thought for you, our listener. Given this incredible diversity on both sides, food and wine, what unexpected, maybe even unconventional pairings might be out there, waiting to give you that amazing aha moment for your palate? It's something to explore.
Definitely. Until our next deep dive, keep tasting and keep exploring.